Hello, Dr. Lilly speaking, and today I want to share my experience and my story. And recently I had a car crash, and it was very humbling and very scary experience. My car was totaled, and I was on a road rattled and confused. At that time, I have realized that I don't know what to do if I get in a motor vehicle accident. And I didn't know if I should call police, if I should move the car from that place, or if should I just leave it there. I decided to call some friends, and I called my husband, and it happened that he did not have his phone with. So I have realized, that very many of us don't know what to do if we get in a motor vehicle accident. What is the thing to do? What is the thing that we should avoid? Some mistakes that we should never make, if we get in a car accident. And it is something that we should learn before we get in that situation, because that situation of getting into motor vehicle accident, having a crashed car on the road is very anxiety producing. So your reasoning at that time might be affected. So this is why I invited Joe Canane. He is a personal injury attorney, and he is a specialist for answering questions like this to help us out and educate us in what to do and what not to do in a case of motor vehicle accident.
Hi, Lily.
Joe, very nice having you here. Thank you so much for taking part in this podcast and helping our community learn more.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure. I've been an attorney for over 23 years. Wow. I do personal injury and long-term disability. My office is in Edmonds, in downtown Edmonds, but I help people all over Washington State.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I really like helping people when they've been in a car crash. They don't always know what to do. By helping them, direct them through the insurance company mazes, we can help them find out, what are the right things, what are the wrong things, and help them out. That's my job.
Wonderful. That's quite a bit of experience, 20 years of experience, and you're providing a lot of good help, to people like me. So, Joe, can you tell us, few things, that we should do if you get involved in a motor vehicle accident?
There are quite a few things you can do. The first thing, of course, if you're in a car crash, is to call 911. By calling 911, the police should arrive, and the police officer, he or she will take down all the evidence, get all the important information down from you as well as the other person involved. They'll take down their driver's license information, their insurance company information. They'll also document what happened. And what happened is pretty important to especially determine who was at fault. By having the police officer there, they will write down any witness information. They'll do a description, typically, of the scene. They might even take photographs, and those photographs can be really important. So 911 is the first thing anybody should do.
Good. So what is the next thing we should do?
Well, obviously, if somebody is in a car crash, they should check themselves for injury, any passengers they may have, as well as check on the other person. Getting, even before that, trying to get out of harm's way. If you're in I-5 and you're on a lane of traffic, trying to get over to the side safely would be important, but then checking yourself for your injuries. If you call 911, they'll ask typically, do you need an ambulance? And I always say, well, why not? Have an ambulance show up, the EMT, maybe it's a fire department, they'll check you out, and they know whether you suffered any more significant injuries. Especially sometimes injuries aren't always apparent right at the scene. You may be in shock, you may not be feeling any pain, but by having somebody there, a medical professional, check you over is the right thing to do.
Wonderful. Yeah, seeking medical help and checkup after motor vehicle accident is very important. Injuries do not appear to be obvious after motor vehicle accident. So very often, like a whiplash injuries, they don't hurt right away. They hurt the day or two after. Mm-hmm. My personal experience was that it appeared that I did not have any kind of injuries, but now I have a lot of neck pain and a lot of headaches, much more than usual. So maybe I did suffer some injury, during that motor vehicle accident, but it was not really apparent at that time.
That's right. Additionally at the scene, now most people have smartphones. You should use the camera on your smartphone and take photos of your own car as well as the other person's car. You maybe take 10 or 15 photos from all different angles. That could be helpful later in case an accident reconstructionist had to look at your car or what happened by taking a lot of photos. Additionally, once you have those photos on your phone, when you go home, you should upload those photos to your computer, just in case you lose your phone or something happens, it falls in water, and your phone it gets damaged, then at least the pictures will be preserved.
Those are all really, really good advices. Thank you so much.
So, once you've gone from the scene, in the next 24 to 48 hours, we were discussing, you want to get checked out for any injuries to your neck and back. If you don't go to a doctor early on, it's hard to tell what your injuries are, whether they're old injuries or whether they're new injuries. So getting checked out by a medical professional, a physical therapist, a chiropractor, an MD,
good idea.
Are really important.
Wonderful. Is there anything else we should do?
There's a few other things. Obviously, when you get back to your house, you're going to want to call your own insurance company and notify them that you're in a car crash. Hopefully you can do that within the first day or two by giving your insurance company notice. It protects you so that they can step in and help you with your insurance as the claim moves forward. Your insurance company will give you a claim number, and that'll be used to track the claim over the next several weeks or months. Hopefully you have purchased personal injury protection. That's called PIP in the state of Washington, and that's very important because that PIP insurance will cover your medical bills that you received that were reasonable, necessary, and related to the car crash.
Good. Wonderful. All important information. Thank you so much, Joe.
A few other things, as we talked about getting the medical attention, you're going to want to follow your doctor's orders. If your doctor says, I want to see you over the next few weeks to come in once a week, to make sure you go and you follow those orders. If you don't follow your doctor's orders, then it may look like you maybe aren't suffering from an injury. So following your doctor's orders, and if you have to miss an appointment at your physical therapist or your chiropractor's office, try to reschedule that as soon as possible.
Wonderful. Yeah. Being compliant with the plan of care is very, very important. It gives us better results. Physical therapy, for example, has cumulative effect, since all benefits of physical therapy, build to what we did in the previous session. So skipping appointments is actually resulting in not optimal results or poor results, and extended time in therapy to have success and to heal very well, and in the shortest amount of time from motor vehicle accident injuries. Patients should actually commit their time, to attending therapy, come to their appointments regularly, and do prescribed home exercise program and self-care. Sometimes patients self-discharge or drop out after they feel better, but that's very often a mistake, because they go out, to back to normal life, and they re-injure themselves, and then things actually get worse, and it can situation like this actually affect their case on a legal side.
Right. Well, absolutely. If somebody stops going to seek medical care and it was recommended by their medical provider, they're putting themselves not only at the health injury and additional risk as you're talking about, but they can also cause damage to their claim. So along those lines, checking your medical records every few weeks or every several months may not be a bad idea. Making sure that what you're discussing with your medical provider is actually getting put in the medical records. Medical records were never really designed to support or to result in a good result in an insurance claim or in a lawsuit, But that's what we look to, is to the medical records. I've had cases where a person had an injury to their right shoulder, and that's what they complained about, and that's what the problem was, and that's what they got treated for. But after we got the medical records from the the MD, it turns out the medical doctor was saying that it was left shoulder. So That gave us an opportunity to try to clean that up, but at some point it could be too late. So you want to make sure the medical records are accurate.
Sure.
As well.
That's very important.
A couple other ideas for folks would be to they could take a calendar out and put in a calendar, use the pain scale, 0 or 1 to 10. 10 is the highest pain. They could write that in their calendar so that they could keep track of that over time, because these things may not resolve for several months or maybe a couple years. Additionally, they may want to take pictures of their bruising, if they had any bruising at the beginning of the trauma, if it was an acute pain or injury, maybe their seatbelt caused some injury or damage, if they could take some photos of that to preserve those images. And then, one of the last things that they should do is to consult with an attorney. Most attorneys that I'm aware of that handle personal injury cases, they'll consult with somebody, and it's usually a complimentary or free consultation over the phone to find out whether they need an attorney, or making sure that they're doing the right things to move forward so that they can be made whole or receive some justice.
Great. That sounds really good. Really all good advices. So are there any things, Joe, that you can share with us that people absolutely should not do if they get into motor vehicle accident?
Well,
big mistakes.
A few things that I would say that they shouldn't do. One is to give a recorded statement to the other person's insurance company, or to sign a medical authorization for the other party's insurance company. There's a few reasons why you don't want to give a recorded statement. Typically, the insurance adjuster for the other party's insurance company will call a few days after the car crash, and they'll be really nice, unbelievably nice to you, because they want to get information about what happened and whether you were injured. It's okay to tell them what happened and that you were injured, but if they record the statement, that statement will likely be used against you several weeks or months down the line. For example, one day you may not be having pain in your neck, and you may have just taken some pain medication and you were feeling fine or okay, but a few weeks later that pain could be getting worse. They'll say, well, you told me a few weeks ago that your pain was fine. So that recorded statement will be used against you. So don't do that, or sign a medical authorization, because if you sign a blanket or a general medical authorization, they'll go back and get medical records from weeks or even months or years before this car crash and use those records against you.
Wow. That's a good information. Thank you, Joe.
And then
anything else?
Yeah, one or two other items don't do is be careful about posting on your social media or Facebook. I would say go very easy on Facebook. You don't want to post photos of the car crash and say that I was fine or okay, because those Facebook records and your pages could be subpoenaed by the other side, and if there was litigation or a lawsuit.
Interesting.
And if you do go on Facebook, I would make sure that your privacy levels were as high as they could be, so that only your friends can see these postings, not that they're open to everybody else. And then one of the last things, as we talked about a little bit earlier, was being careful not to gap out on your medical treatment. If your doctors tell you to, or your physical therapist says to go and stay on this 6-week or 12-week plan, don't not go, because that's a gap, and the insurance companies will love to say, well, you didn't seek medical treatment for a month or several weeks, and therefore you must not be injured.
And that makes sense, right? It makes perfect sense. So, Joe, you have a book for community that you wrote, and it contains a lot of good information regarding motor vehicle accidents and what to do, what not to do. A lot of really good advices. So, can you tell us a little bit more about your book, how our community can get that book, access to the book, and a little bit more about your business and how to contact you if they need help with the legal part of the motor vehicle accident issue?
Sure. Anybody, any person that's been involved in a car crash, they could call my office at 425-672-7100, and I'd be happy to provide a complimentary consultation that usually takes you 15 minutes to a half an hour to find out what's going on in their case, whether they need an attorney, or how else I can help them to make sure they're on the right path. If they go to my website, cunnanelaw.com, so it's CUNNANELAW.com, they could go and they could find the ebook that it's titled What Every Injured Victim in Washington State Must Know to Avoid Getting Ripped Off. They could pull down that ebook. It's about 45 pages long, so it goes over some of these same issues, and they can have that. It's a free book, and they can use that. And again, they can give me a call at my office, and I'd be happy to help any way I can.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming here and for sharing your knowledge and giving us great advice regarding motor vehicle accidents, and telling our community what to do in a case they get in a car crash. I appreciate your time, and let's continue helping our community get better.
Thank you, Lily.
Thank you.